Right, so here we are with White Dwarf, and this is the February edition. So on the front you got some really cool visuals there, and on the back. So let's have a look. Okay, as usual, you know, you got your White Dwarf team there. So this is issue 451. For some reason I noticed that they've not put the month on the side anymore, they're just putting the issue number, so that's a little bit different. Let's have a look. So a painting question here, Colours of the Deep. So someone's asked about the painting scheme on this Ideneth Deepkin model. So if you're interested in that, it's a really cool model actually. Now you know how to paint it. And as usual, submitted models and model of the month. That is awesome. Yeah, very cool. I love that bell. So that is by Jeff Painter, so well done. Moving on to some more submissions. I really like how that dirt's done, that's really, really cool. Very sort of realistic. I'm always quite curious to see people's basing techniques, so I wonder how that was done. Right, on to Worlds of Warhammer. So, looking at these very cool armies, I really like this Nurgle army. That's quite a cool sort of purplish colour scheme, and over here a very bright yellow Imperial Fists army. Very cool. And a bit more into that, and on to Age of Sigmar. Always love to see a dragon. Tome Celestial. So there's a bit more into the background on that, showing off that army a little bit more as well. The Iron Sons, the Ard Boys. And onto War Scroll Battalions. There seem to be some, what are these? Oh, okay, some different games that you can do with them. That's quite cool. And onto your painting segment, which is always my favourite bit to see. It's interesting, they've got two different versions. One's battle ready and one's parade ready. So obviously you'd sort of aim for the battle ready if you're getting ready for the to get your stuff on the table and get using it. But if you really want to go into a little bit more depth, that parade ready scheme looks really cool. More on the Iron Sons brutes, and yeah, so this is a bit more on the same thing, battle ready and parade ready, just on a different model. Similar sort of colour scheme, it looks like. Oh, and they've gone into a little bit of basing technique up there as well. And onto the Death of Dakabad Grotkicker. Yeah, so there's a little bit of background on that. Have a read through that. Some fiction. And onto Rules of Engagement. So this is Jervis Johnson, focusing on the creation, design and evolution of the rules for Age of Sigmar. But actually this time it's Luis Aguilar. Please let me know if I've got that pronunciation wrong. So he's going a little bit onto the rules of engagement on that. So onto your Warcry, which I'm really excited about looking at this issue. You've got the Fire Slayers. So they seem to be, they look alright to use actually. So you've got your abilities there, what you can do with your doubles, triples and quads, and all of basically what would be the cards are there as well. So you can choose who you might want to bring into your Warcry games. And onto army showcases. So new growth in Nullroot, the Sylvaneth army. This is really, really cool. Ilariel the Everqueen there on her gigantic bug. It's amazing, amazing army. A little bit more detail on L'Oreal, and sort of zooming in on these parts that are particularly quite amazing. I really like that base and how they've made it sort of look like fallen leaves. That's very cool. More on Sylvaneth, so if you're a big fan of Sylvaneth, you'll love this issue. Colours of the Forest. Yeah, I really like that colour scheme actually. Very cool. So they've showed you also what they've used to paint all of these up in sort of the different colour schemes that they've gone with. The spirit weapons are very, very cool. I just love the way that that's painted. I mean, that is definitely parade ready. Okay, on to Warhammer 40k. Mindfire. So, the opening of the Great Rift has seen the number of human psychers across the galaxy increase dramatically, yet as you'll soon see in this short story by Colin Kuban, not all of them are loyal to the Emperor. So, a little bit more fiction there for you. Lots and lots of fiction to get into on this issue actually. Indomitus Crusade heroes. And there's some on that. And onto A Tale of Four Warlords, which is in every issue. The Warlords of Vigilus. So, 4 mighty armies assemble for the battle. And let's just take a moment to appreciate that double page spread of some awesome miniatures. Very cool. I won't focus too much on these because you will probably want to read them yourself. So let's move forward through the battle report. And oh, right, there we go. Echoes from the Warp. So this column is written by Robin Crudace. So moving through that. And you are on to Realms of Chaos. So this is the realm of Nurgle. So we saw a bit of Nurgle earlier on. There's a bit more here. Again, looking at in a little bit more depth about how you can paint up your Nurgle army. So this says, we all know that Nurgle loves green, brown and yellow, but disease and corruption come in many colours. So yeah, you don't have to stick to green, brown and yellow. As we saw before, there's some really cool purple stuff as well. Some other things on your Nurgle armies. You don't have to stick to the standards. So yeah, again, this brilliant purple scheme. Got a few plague bearers there as well. Yeah, there's some absolutely awesome Nurgle miniatures. So this is going into a little bit more depth on Nurgle themed basing, which I really like, these sort of columns where they do building up your base. This is quite cool to see how they've done that. You've got like a liquid pit of foulness is how they've described it down here. That's quite cool. There's lots of things you can do with your bases with Nurgle. And on to putrid painting, more paint splatter. So you're doing your step-by-step bruise skin. They go on to the corroded bell, which is very cool. Some more on, so got bone armour, working on the horns. It's really very specific paint, step-by-step paint splatters here. Finishing touches, shows how they've done each of those things. And on to Beastgrave Glory Points, the column about Underworld's Beastgrave. So this is a column by John Bracken. Looking a little bit more about that. Path to Victory. So Dave Saunders doing this, I believe. A little bit more on tactics. Continuing over the next few pages. Let's have a look. Right, so now we're on to Blackstone Fortress. So we've got Sanctioned Carnage. Having a look at the new rules. And I'll show you that the right way around. So you can have a little look at that. And on to aircraft markings. So the Aeronautica Imperialis, Panoply of War. So a bit more about these Imperial Navy aircrafts, which you don't see all that much of in White Dwarf. So if you're interested in the Aeronautica Imperialis, you might be interested in reading a bit on that. And on to Middle-earth, strategy battle game. So we're on Tactica for this. And in this instalment of Tactica, focusing on the heroes and villains of Middle-earth, rules writer J. Clare talks about perhaps one of the most unusual characters that fought against the forces of the Dark Lord, the King of the Dead. Looking at how that works. Very cool. And here's an interview in the Black Library, the first act of Faith. So this issue of White Dwarf is a little chunkier than usual. That's because it contains the first instalment of James Swallow's Sisters of Battle novel Faith and Fire, which will be serialised over the coming years. We asked James to tell us what the story is all about. So James Swallow is talking about his Sisters of Battle novel, Faith and Fire. Sisters of Battle have been increasingly popular the past few months, so something to get your teeth into on that. And actually, it shows you chapter 1. So lots and lots of fiction in this issue, as I did mention earlier. So lots to get into with regards to that. Ooh. And that actually does lead us to the final page, which is inside the studio. So working on, let's have a look, all sorts of things. Necromancers, shows a bit more on the detailing on the back of their cloaks, which is very, very cool. The robes look awesome. Aeronautica Imperialis, some more on those painting techniques there. And that is about it as well. So, oh, one more on the back page. So yeah, that's the end of that February issue of White Dwarf. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe.
If you enjoyed this video, then please feel free to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. You can also click that bell icon to be notified when a new video has gone live on this channel. On the screen now are 2 more videos that you may wish to check out, and a link to our Patreon page also. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.